But if he doesn't survive, he's worth a lot to me. Put Captain Solo in the cargo hold. As you wish. He's no good to me dead. Nope. Nope, Boba Fett does not have any iconic lines from the original trilogy. In fact, I think I actually just said every line he ever had. Hey there, folks. Haven't done a review for anything other than Doctor Who here on the main channel for a while, and this might not be the start of a new trend. I'm rolling the dice, seeing how this does. If the numbers are there, maybe these will continue to appear here as a Wednesday feature. If they do more middling numbers, this will probably transfer over to the Break Room of Geeks. Subscribe over there if you haven't already. That's where most of my review material goes these days. But you know what? I feel like rolling the dice. Let's try it. It's almost a new year. I was going to say we're in a new year, try new things. It's not yet. It's close, but it's not. Anyways, Book of Boba Fett. Let me jump to the end a little bit. I like this a lot, which is relieving in a way, because, like, look, I love Star Wars. I literally grew up on Star Wars. I do not remember seeing any of the original trilogy for the first time. They've always just been there. That's my relationship with this franchise. I've always loved it. But that having been said, there isn't a lot outside of that original trilogy that I have a lot of deep love for. I could never get into the expanded universe before it became Star Wars Legends. Some of the video games were okay. Never got into the novels or any of that sort of thing. The prequel trilogy was... I didn't like it. Up until Revenge of the Sith, which I do like. The Disney trilogy started out strong. Frustrated me, but in an interesting way with The Last Jedi, which I didn't like, but like it's not uninteresting. And then frustrated me in a very boring way with Rise of Skywalker. And even just looking at the TV output, Mandalorian is fine. I like the vibe of The Mandalorian, and I appreciate what it's doing more than I actually enjoy it. I don't think it's bad. I'm just not overly impressed by it. I gave up on Bad Batch after 3 episodes because I didn't care. And Star Wars Visions just annoyed the ever-loving crap out of me. Now, I know that in a lot of these cases, I'm in a minority, and a lot of Star Wars fans have enjoyed some or all, well, not Rise of Skywalker, but, you know, many of the things that I've said I haven't enjoyed. And that's fine. That doesn't make you any more of a fan than me. This is not any kind of lightsaber measuring contest we've got going on here. My point is, it's been a long time since I saw something Star Wars related that made me just go, oh, I definitely want to watch more of this. The Mandalorian, like, made me go, okay, I guess I'll keep watching. This is much stronger than that. And it's hard for me to nail down exactly why this is working so much better for me than The Mandalorian. I think largely because it's not a singular clear thing. It's a ton of little things. I did a review of the very first episode of The Mandalorian, and I nitpicked it like nuts. And not to be a buzzkill, but because tons of tiny little details were driving me nuts because of the way they did it or what they chose to do. None of that's in play here. I think it was actually to their benefit to actually just set it in a flat-out familiar setting of Tatooine and Jabba's palace and the immediate surrounding area, as opposed to something that is technically a new place, but is incredibly reminiscent of that, like Jakku was in the Disney trilogy. So I feel like things like that, just owning the fact that we are just going to dip into old stuff and old characters that you like, but we're going to do some new stuff with them. And honestly, Boba Fett is a great character to do this with. Not because Boba Fett's an amazing character. Let's be honest, he's not. He looked really cool in the original trilogy. Absolutely great design, good presence. He was shot well. I prefer the original, more raspy voice that the guy had, but you know, the dubbed in voice that worked well enough. But he wasn't really characterized. He wasn't really a character. He was a really cool standee that was in a lot of shots, but he wasn't much of a character. So he's actually someone who you can expand on and give us more of, and it doesn't feel like, well, that doesn't feel right. The way that it might when you start messing more with characters like the past of Han Solo or the future of Luke Skywalker. Regardless of what you think of either of those times that they've done that, you have to admit that's a lot more fraught because people have very clear ideas of what they think those characters are. I'm sure there are people who have read tons of Boba Fett material in expanded universe, whatevers, who have a better sense of Boba Fett as a character. But as someone who has a very deep love of the original trilogy, but has not dived into any of the rest of that because it just doesn't appeal to me. In that respect, I think I represent a lot bigger proportion of the audience. Not that, again, that's not a superiority thing, just realistically. You can give us more of this guy. You can start to show us who he is. And I feel like there was like one thing that I was wavering on, just a little bit, but they found a great way to sell it, like at the very end of the episode. I'm going to talk pretty freely about the plot at this point. So there will be some spoilers if you're watching out for that. I like this a lot. The characters are well performed. It's really well shot for the most part. There's one scene at night. Like, okay, seriously, if you're making something for streaming, stop shooting it in the kind of dark, low light that only works in a movie theater where the only light source is the screen. I'm watching this in a room and I've got ambient daylight coming in. I can barely see what the hell's going on. Stop it. Stop that. But other than that one nighttime bit, really well shot, really well done, good tension, good action, good progression, good use of flashbacks and the points at which it cuts back to modern for the character, current timeline, and the mechanism used to do that feels really good. I really want to see where this goes from here. I'm intrigued by these characters. I still feel like Boba Fett himself is not the most compelling in terms of when he actually starts talking. I'll get to that. It is one of my little nitpicks about this. But it does help that he's right next to Ming-Na Wen, who, boy, does she command the screen. Holy crap. But she manages to do it in a way that doesn't take away from him. She's not sucking the oxygen out of the room, but she is upping the ambient energy of the room. So they're a good pairing. It's working really well for me so far. And I dig the premise. I dig the sense of where I think it's going. I want to see more. Okay, so getting into some more specifics. First of all, they did a real good job of making the inside of that Sarlacc look horrifying. Oh, crap. And I also like the idea that Boba Fett gets out, but he doesn't get out by being like badass and he gets out of like, I'm free. No, he gets out and passes out and gets all of his stuff stolen by the friggin' Jawas. And then Tuskens show up and they're like, oh, free labor. He's still alive. We can put him to work. And then he has to deal with that. It really is emphasizing he's not like the most amazing guy who's just going to badass his way through everything. Nah, he's resilient. He's resourceful, but he's also getting the crap kicked out of him across this, which helps a lot because kind of the image of Boba Fett in the collective fan unconsciousness is this real badass. And I'm like, he's never really done much to earn that title. Again, great look, but we don't actually see him get into combat in the original trilogy, like at all. And the one time he briefly does, it's very short-lived before he ends up in that pit. Tiny side note about the Sarlacc. I appreciate that they shot it from such an angle that we don't see the beak, but not such an angle where it's like, oh, we're retconning and the Sarlacc doesn't have the beak bit anymore. No, it's just an angle where, no, we're not going to show you that. As someone who thought the beak was a dumb addition, thank you. Thank you. You're not erasing it for anybody who likes it, but I don't have to see it. That's great. I love that. I mentioned having one nitpick about him when he speaks. It's not when he's interacting with Ming-Na Wen in the present day setting. It is in the honestly, I don't understand why there's a single word of spoken English dialogue in the flashback at all. I really don't. Because there is nothing that he communicates that is not in evidence just by watching what's going on. I think it would have been more compelling to just watch him deal with the situation the way he does without having to say it out loud. You want me to dig for water? It's like, yeah, no, I saw that. Just do it. And they didn't, when the bits where he talked, they didn't kill anything, but like, didn't need to be there. I think it would have been way more badass if he just had kept his mouth shut. That said, though, when he's actually having dialogue with characters, works better. Now, I mentioned the one thing that like I was wavering on, but the very end really sold me on. So I was a little bit on this whole idea that we were getting early on, where we're seeing him in Jabba's palace. We're seeing him, having mercy for some guards who had worked for Jabba previously. Where overall he's got this whole thing of, I don't want people to fear me, I want them to respect me. And they seem to have him with this sort of honor code. And I was debating that. I'm like, again, that feels like a projection of what fans wanted out of the character. And again, maybe it's something that is more representative of non-film material, that most of which is non-canon now. Like, don't forget that. But it's one of those things that I'm like, yeah, but is he though? Is he this kind of honorable guy? Because, he has to be told, don't disintegrate your target who has done nothing for you. You're just supposed to bring him for a bounty. Like, he's just going to do whatever works, was the impression I always got from him. But they used the flashback really well. And they show that what got him out of that situation with the Tusken Raiders, dealing with that multi-armed thing, which I didn't like the face on that, but again, that's nitpicky. When he helped kill that thing, that was when he was able to get out of that situation. He couldn't get out sneakily. He couldn't make them afraid of him. But once they respected him, that was what not only got him out, but got him help. So I can now buy, even if prior to the events of this, he was a bit more cutthroat, a bit more ruthless. I see that moment and how well it was executed and how intense. I've had to watch him go through all this stuff, crawling out of the Sarlacc, getting his stuff stolen, getting tied to rocks, trying to escape, failing, all of this stuff. And I'm like, anything that gets you out of that situation, yeah, I could see him latching onto them, being like, this is the way to go about things. And it's clear that what got him out of that was earning respect. And so now, the stuff that was going on in the present day that was like, I don't know if I buy this from this character. Give me that moment, I'm like, oh, now I do. This is really smartly constructed. And a lot of the stuff that annoyed me about The Mandalorian were bits that felt like they were only there for no reason other than to make fans go, ooh! And occasionally it worked, but it felt so manipulative to me. It felt so, there's no reason to do this other than to get that ooh! And there were things in this that gave me that little ooh, but they felt like they would have been there even if they weren't going to get that reaction. The things that are fan servicey feel organic as opposed to injected in for no reason other than fan service. This is way tighter. This is way more focused. This is way more interested in telling a story than just giving me good vibes, which was kind of what Mandalorian left me with. Like, yeah, it's good vibes. I'm not super invested in the story, but yeah, good Star Wars-y Ronin kind of journey vibes. This, I'm actually interested in this story. I want to see where the plot goes, in addition to liking the vibes. Book of Boba Fett. This is a strong start. I got a lot of hope here. Don't let me down. Don't let me down again. It feels good to unabashedly really like a Star Wars thing. I'd like to hold on to that, please. But what did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. I have a Patreon. It's how I pay my bills. Also a link down in the description. Links to other things as well. Other social medias, my Twitch channel, P.O. Box if you feel like sending anything my way. Hey, whatever, but don't worry too much about it. Because at the end of the day, you are the council. I'm just running the meetings, and until next time, this council is adjourned. None of this would have been possible without my supporters over on Patreon. In particular, I want to thank Robin Powell, Raven McBain, Tracy Scrabbit, Vincent Paul Bartolucci, Robin Moore, and Shayla Gourlay. If you'd like to hear me possibly mispronounce your name, maybe consider looking at the reward tiers over on the Patreon. But either way, don't worry about it too much. Take care of yourself.